Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we'll be talking about the Pax Dei update for verse 3. It was released on June 11th, 2025, but I held off on giving my opinion because I wanted to get to know it better and form my own impressions. Now, after testing it, I can share with you what has changed. I will discuss the update details based on the official information from the developers, and at the end, I'll share my thoughts, as usual, somewhat skeptical but appreciative where it's due. Let's start with the changes in the game world. In verse 3, the developers introduced new starting zones in Pax Dei to make it easier for players to enter the game. Each zone is equipped with basic crafting stations, allowing players to make essential items right from the beginning. In future updates, altars in these zones will provide access to private storage spaces, which will be shared among all of a player's characters on a given shard. This will enable easy item transfer between characters, which will be a great convenience. Another element is the new RPG system. The developers redesigned the skills to better reflect diverse playstyles, making the system more intuitive and adapted to the various roles players can take on in the game. They introduced equipment-related skills. For example, each piece of armor, such as light helmets, medium helmets, or heavy helmets, has its own skill that develops depending on the type of item used. Additionally, every item has a skill level requirement to be used. Verse 3 brings significant improvements in crafting. The developers added new recipes and increased the variety of items that can be crafted. More complex production processes were introduced, requiring larger amounts of materials and cooperation between different crafting skills. For example, creating advanced items now requires gathering a greater quantity of basic raw materials. Additionally, the layout of the provinces was changed by swapping the positions of Mary and Keris, increasing the number of home valleys, and reducing the areas of wild terrains. This was aimed at increasing player density in the game world and encouraging more interaction between them. In response to negative community feedback, the developers also introduced a number of quality of life improvements. Among other things, stamina consumption was reduced for jumping, running, and climbing, and its regeneration speed was increased. Weapon durability was also improved so that higher level equipment now has greater endurance while lower level gear has less. Skill progression was made easier by lowering the experience required, especially above level 20, and by increasing the experience gained from killing second-level enemies and higher. And now my conclusions. The verse 3 update brought several really positive changes. Combat has become much more engaging thanks to the magical abilities of weapons and armor, which is a huge improvement to the overall gameplay experience. Fighting monsters has also become much easier due to the widespread availability of healing spells. However, this has diminished the significance of food, which used to be crucial but is now just a nice addition. I'm happy about the ability to place decorative chests without needing carpentry skills. This is a great move because now anyone can create extra storage space on their property by themselves. The new base circle indicator when managing land gives a sense of security that buildings won't disappear if a neighboring player deletes their adjacent plot. The warning about losing land when building on an extended area, along with a reaction period, is a sensible solution that helps to keep things ordered. In addition, there's a new automatic attack mechanic, which means you no longer have to keep clicking the left mouse button. You just hold it down, and your character will repeat basic weapon attacks. This is a great convenience in combat that saves the player's mouse and fingers, although it doesn't work with bows. In their case, holding down the left mouse button still controls the bowstring draw. Crafting has become more complex, requiring more basic materials to create advanced items. This is an interesting addition, although sometimes the amount of required resources seems excessive. The loot table changes, which allow basic ore mining to yield silver or gold, add a bit of randomness. I have mixed feelings about this. On one hand, I'm glad it's easier to get gold or silver, but on the other, I think it would have been better to place gold and silver deposits in PvP areas so that obtaining them involves some risk. However, not everything is perfect. Crafting items now requires significantly more resources, which can be frustrating. The connections between crafting skills have become unclear in some places, making it difficult to orient oneself. Alchemical potions have lost their importance because the increased character stats and equipment bonuses have effectively limited alchemy to creating healing wands for healers. Developing archery on your own is also frustrating. Experience is only gained when the final blow is dealt with the bow. This leads to unnatural situations where you fight with a sword and then shoot the enemy standing right in front of you with a bow to finish them off, which spoils the gaming experience. In reality, it should be the other way around. The widespread appearance of magic in equipment has caused magic to cease being something rare and exceptional. Instead, it has become so common that it's almost unnoticeable. However, The biggest problem is the time required to improve crafting skills. Gathering resources now takes much more time, making it impossible to create a universal craftsman with all skills on your own. If you've watched recordings of my gameplay, you know that crafting was the part that took up a lot of my time and brought me great enjoyment. However, now I'm glad that my friends didn't delete their crafting skills. After the recent changes, I wouldn't be able to reach the level I had in verse 2, and honestly, I don't even feel like trying. Instead, I have access to equipment in exchange for resources. The current situation with crafting has caused protest among many players, but I understand that the developers want to enforce social interaction and specialization this way. What I don't like, however, is their approach to the economy. Instead of allowing natural development of interaction and specialization through efficient market tools, they try to impose these behaviors through artificial restrictions, which leads to player frustration and hostility. In a well-designed economy, players, while seeking profit opportunities, start communicating, competing, cooperating, or fighting with each other. Their actions cause shortages or surpluses of resources, which lead to tensions, wars, and population movements between regions. This, in turn, supports specialization, as players move to places where they have better access to local, unique resources. And this is exactly what builds a world full of life and interactions. Unfortunately, this is still missing in Pax Dei. An economy requires something that Pax Dei still lacks: a currency that would clearly price all goods and labor. It also requires tools that allow participation in the economy. The biggest missing feature is a buy-order system. Without it, players cannot show what they need. As a result, those who could supply something simply don't, because they don't know anyone is looking for it. Additionally, there are taxes paid to unknown recipients and set by unknown authorities. Could it be true what some players jokingly suggest, that the Inquisitors are the government and we're actually paying taxes to them? Returning to the topic, at the moment, selling requires a stall, and the sales tax is collected immediately when the item is listed. When someone buys the item, the full payment goes to the seller. However, it should work so that the seller lists their goods without paying fees up front, and the tax is taken from the amount received from the sale. Another issue is the lack of a search function for goods by name. Currently, we have to rely on vague categories, which only makes navigating the market more difficult. If you've watched my earlier videos, you probably know that I really like Pax Dei. I see huge potential in this game and have sincerely recommended it to all fans of MMO sandboxes. After the Verse 3 update, I still see that potential, and the game still brings me joy. However, today, I would add one condition to my assessment of Pax Dei and say this: if you love MMO sandboxes and want to feel the atmosphere of living in a fantastic, magic-filled world, and you have, or are able to find, friends who think like you and are ready to live together with you in this magical world, then Pax Dei can provide you with many hours of great fun. But if you're looking for independence, a well-functioning economy, and the possibility to play solo, I advise you to wait until the full release. Thank you for your time and for watching this video. If you like my content and want me to create more, please give it a thumbs up. A thumbs down is also fine if you don't like it. This way, I'll know whether it's worth making this kind of material. A thumbs up lets me know it's worth spending time on. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and write something in the comments as well. Comments help boost the reach because YouTube sees interest in my videos and suggests them to other people when there are many comments. That's why I'm asking for a comment to help this video get better viewership. If you have an idea for a topic you'd like me to cover in the next video, share it in the comments. I'd love to hear your suggestions. I'm looking forward to your opinions and ideas. See you in the next video.